In the drifting currents of history, there are armies that vanished without leaving behind a single echo, the knights of the 10th century. Men wrapped in iron, bound by honor, left behind stories that time eventually swallowed. It's said that on their final warship, a commander carried with him a wooden chess set, something he believed symbolized strategy and clarity. Before each battle, he would tell his soldiers, "On the board or on the battlefield, only the steadfast survive." There are tales of archers who could strike their target under nothing but moonlight, and riders who swore their souls would be protected as long as their shields never left their hands. But then came the storm, the sea rose in fury, and their entire ship disappeared beneath the waves. Every story became rumor, every clue turned into legend. Until today, when in the cold black of the deep sea we find them, lying in silence, waiting for their story to be told once more. If you've ever heard the tales of the knights of 10th century Europe, you know their lives were bound to oaths. Some were written in books, but others were thrown into the sea, surviving only as whispers in forgotten legends. Long ago in the northern lands, there existed a company of knights called the Blue Cross Order. They were known not only for their strength, but for their absolute loyalty. Before every battle, each soldier placed a hand on his helmet and swore, "I fight not for victory, but for the light of my homeland." Their commander, Sir Aldrin, was said to possess an unusually calm gaze. People claimed he never raised his voice, even when facing 1,000 enemies. In his hand, he always carried an old chess set, and on quiet nights he would study it for hours, as if every war was simply a grand game dictated by fate. But the power of this order did not lie solely in their swords or shields. They carried with them a legendary machine, a great wooden catapult forged from ancient oak. It was said to have fought for 3 generations, and that every time it was damaged, the soldiers repaired it with their own blood. A ritual no outsider had ever seen. Then one day, without warning, the Blue Cross Order left the mainland. They boarded a massive wooden warship, bringing with them their armor, their weapons, their warhorse gear, and their oath. The ship sailed straight into the Black Sea, and from that moment, it never returned. The legends began there, and today, as the lights shine into the cold, silent ocean depths, perhaps we will finally understand why they never came back. When modern explorers first discovered the remains of the ship, they knew immediately this vessel did not belong to any recorded history. Its wooden hull was thick, reinforced with iron that had long since rusted. Yet the internal layout reflected a level of military engineering centuries ahead of its time. In the lower deck were rows upon rows of massive oars, each one still gripped by the skeletal remains of the soldiers who once rode them. Their posture was not that of collapse, but of preparation, as if they were bracing for one final stroke in absolute darkness. Deeper inside, explorers found a chamber filled with spears, straight swords, oil-treated bows, and armor covered in moss and coral. What chilled them most was their arrangement. Every weapon lay in perfect order, not scattered by chaos. It looked less like the wreck of a storm, and more like a ritual of preservation. At the ship's center, Aldrin's old chess set remained intact. The wood had rotted, yet the positions of the pieces were unchanged, as if someone had stepped away only moments ago. A queen lay tipped on its side, a bishop nudged slightly off its square. Some believe it was a final message, a silent warning they hoped someone would decode. Then there was the catapult. Though broken and buried in sand, the machine still exuded a sense of defiance. Near it lay the skeletons of the crew responsible for its operation, their hands resting precisely where they once controlled each mechanism. This ship wasn't the aftermath of a simple sinking. It was a monument, a message, a story someone intended for us to find, or what that story truly is waits in the final chapter. For centuries, historians wondered, why would an elite order like the Blue Cross sail away with all their weapons, gear, warhorse armor, and even their sacred catapult, only to vanish in silence? Many theories emerged: an expedition for new lands, an escape from war, a pursuit of some unseen enemy. But none explained the evidence found aboard. The neatly arranged weapons, the skeletons still in their battle positions, and the unfinished chess game left behind like a final testament. In an ancient manuscript found in a northern monastery, there was a prophecy Aldrin once read. The bearers of the Blue Cross shall fight their final battle not upon the earth, but beneath the shadow of the sea. If that prophecy is true, perhaps they already knew their fate. Perhaps the voyage was not an escape, but a fulfillment of an oath. One not bound to kings or armies, but to belief. And who was their enemy? No one knows, but the fractured beams, shattered shields, and weapons locked in striking positions suggest they fought to their last breath against something history never recorded. Maybe the most haunting part is this: they chose silence. They chose to leave no documents, no trace, as if the truth was too great or too dangerous for future generations. Now, as light cuts through the darkness of the deep, revealing rusted armor and hundreds of skeletal warriors still standing in formation, we begin to understand. Sometimes the greatest sacrifice is not in victory, but in burying a secret large enough to reshape the world, and this ship is only the final remnant of that truth.